All right, our fit tip today. Last week I talked to you guys about sleep and how it affects your results in the gym. I want to build on that a little bit today. And a lot of people, have gotten some questions kind of about like, well, what you mentioned about sleep quality, how can I improve that and things like that. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that. During those hours of sleep, that's when all the good stuff happens in your body. It's when the cells repair, it's when your hormones balance out and function better, kind of regulate, things like that. If you have a lot of joint aches and pains, things like that, adequate sleep and getting enough sleep can actually help those feel better. Because what happens when we're sleep deprived, it is a stress on the body. So it will release cortisol, it increases inflammation. That inflammation can play into joint issues and some things like that. Also, when you're sleep deprived, you have a higher uh, risk of getting injured on things, pulling muscles, stuff like that. And then, just from trying to get your body to change, whether it's adding some muscle, losing some fat, things like that, it happens faster when you have adequate sleep. So if you are getting sleep, but you're finding that you're having trouble with the quality of it, or things like that, or even if you feel like you're sleeping pretty good, some of these tips today I want to talk about are just helping you get better quality, improving that sleep environment a little bit. So, one of the things is kind of having a sleep schedule. Where you go to bed at this time, you're waking up at this time, and trying to keep that as consistent as possible. You know, Statistically or research wise or whatever, they say within 30 minutes of you going to bed, waking up the same time every day. That's not always possible. But the thing that's bad is like if you're getting up at 5:30 every day during the week, and then Saturday Sunday you're not getting out of bed till like 10 or 11. That kind of just messes your body up, especially on Sunday, because now you're going to bed usually a little bit earlier, but then you can't fall asleep, and then that rolls into Monday and things like that. Another thing that they've seen is the hours spent asleep before midnight seem to be more important than the hours spent asleep after midnight. This is hard for a lot of people, especially if you like to, kind of a night owl, you like to stay up and things like that. But they have found that those hours of sleep before midnight are more restorative, just better for your body, basically. Again, everybody's a little bit different. This isn't like saying that you can't be up till midnight one and then still sleep your 8 hours and stuff like that and not be fine. But that's something that they've kind of seen some consistency with. This next one's a big one, is the blue light from your devices, so like your iPad, your phone, the TV, things like that. If you're going to use those, get the blue light blocking glasses, because what that light does is it stimulates the same sunlight as like early morning, and it starts to wake your brain up a little bit. So when you block that out, or better yet, don't even not using them, just reading like a real book, like a physical book, and that kind of helps tone your mind down, or wind your mind down a little bit there. Try not to eat right before you go to bed. I mean, I know myself, and I'm sure you've had this happen before. It's one of them days you get home late, you kind of eat, and then you go to bed, and you just kind of lay there, and you don't feel real good. You feel just like stuffed and things like that. So that's something to trying to, 2 hours at least, maybe 3 before you go to bed, just when you're having that last meal. Keep your bedroom cool, like 68 degrees, something like that. So the cooler the environment, you tend to get into a little bit of a deeper sleep. And having a dark room, like blackout curtains, things like that. Even like a street light that's outside, that can just kind of mess with your sleep a little bit. So if you can kind of block that out, and any light from your devices, things like that, if you can throw like just like a towel over it or something like that, the darker the room, you tend to sleep better and things like that. Avoiding alcohol before you go to bed. You don't want to just like drink and then go to bed. The alcohol will disrupt your sleep. Even if it's been a few hours since your last drink, it's still going to disrupt your sleep a little bit, but at least you've had some time in there to kind of buffer that off and things like that. And then, some people like stretching, some people like foam rolling if they find like their legs are kind of like twitchy or restless, things like that. That can help relax them and things there. And some other tips too is like how to tell if you are a little bit sleep deprived or not getting enough sleep, one of the first things is when you wake up, are you tired? If you're tired, and these I guess could mean either you're not getting enough sleep or you're not going to get quality sleep. So waking up tired, that's a sign. If you're noticing that you're a little bit more irritable, a little bit more on edge, that's a sign there. Trouble concentrating, just kind of like in that brain fog and things like that, that can be one. Forgetfulness, noticing that your performance in your job is declining, always sleeping through your alarm, always hitting snooze, stuff like that. Just not motivated to do stuff anymore. I mentioned this earlier, but having stiff or achy joints, that is another one that can signal that we're not getting enough sleep or good quality of sleep. And then just, finding that you're not recovering as well from your workouts, like you're kind of maybe always sore, or you're just not as strong, or your legs feel like they're in sand, you're maybe not as explosive and quick and things like that. That can all mean that you're not sleeping well and things like that. And then also, like we mentioned last week, if that you're gaining fat or you're losing muscle tissue, things like that, that can be a sign of not getting enough sleep if everything else is in there. So again, sleep's important. It's something that if you're not doing well with it, I would recommend start working on. So I hope that helps you. I hope it gave you some tips today on how to get better sleep, and then what kind of some signs and symptoms are if you aren't. So hope you enjoyed that. We'll talk to you here next week.